If you work hard, you're going to win championships, you're going to win races.
I'm doing something that I love to do, and that's drive a race car.
It means an awful lot to me to win the second championship. That first one was pretty special, but this one was even more special.
The Trans-South Financial 400.
You got to have everything. You got to have a good car, a good pit crew. You got to have good luck.
I've come close a few times, but just had never got there yet.
Anything but first sucks.
Welcome to Daytona International Speedway and an ESPN SportsCenter special on the Daytona 500. Less than 18 hours from now, the green flag will drop on the 39th Daytona 500 inside Victory Lane. I'm Carl Ravitch, and I'm joined now by the two-time champion here of the 500 and defending champion, Dale Jarrett. And it's interesting, Dale. You talk about the Super Bowl, the World Series, Stanley Cup, all come at the end of the seasons. You guys race your Super Bowl at the beginning. You've been in Victory Lane. Is this the greatest thrill of a racer's life?
Absolutely the greatest thrill. And I think it's only fitting that we start the year with our biggest race. We have 2 months to prepare for this race. Everybody has their very best equipment. The drivers are all in good shape. Nobody's hurt. So you know when you win this race, you've beaten the best at their best.
Preparation, you have all off-season to do it. What are the other elements that it takes to win here?
Well, certainly you can be as well prepared as you can be and have all of that out of the way. You can have a great day on the racetrack, but some luck and fate has to figure in. That has to be the explanation of why Dale Earnhardt hasn't won this race yet.
And we'll talk about Dale Earnhardt a little later in the show. In fact, over the next half hour, we'll talk about 3 guys whose resumes by most standards are complete with the exception of one thing. They've never won a 500. Terry Labonte, defending Winston Cup champion, has taken the green flag 18 times. He's never taken the checkered flag.
The checkered flag comes out, and Terry Labonte has become the 1996 NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
That was quite an accomplishment last year for our team to win the championship. So it's, I think that's something that we all worked very hard for, and really is a good feeling when you accomplish that. But it doesn't give you any kind of advantage. So it kind of is back to work now. Now that the season's starting again.
How important is a 500? Is your resume incomplete, so to speak?
Well, this is the biggest race that we run, and everybody wants to win this race. I mean, I would love to win this race more than any race out there. But if you don't, you don't. I mean, you know. So, and if you're running for the championship, all the races, pay the same amount of points. So every one is very important.
Well, you had a misfortune last year, which was bad luck, wasn't it, here?
We got a plastic bag picked up off the racetrack and got hung in the air cleaner, and really didn't know what was wrong. We thought our engine had gone sour. We changed the ignition boxes, things like that, and then discovered that we had a plastic bag hung in the air cleaner. And we had probably the best car that I've ever had at Daytona here, and have something like that happen, it was pretty disappointing.
You went 12 years, you know, between Winston Cup titles. There were some who said Terry Labonte's done as a racer, and then Rick Hendrick comes and says, no, he's not. Talk about your feelings for the owner.
Yeah, Rick gave me the chance of a lifetime to come drive for him, and I knew it was an opportunity to get back with a team that could win races, to be with a team that had a chance to win the championship. It was kind of like a chance at a second chance in my racing career to join the Hendrick Motorsports team.
And talk about some of, I assume, are there distractions now with the legal problems and the health of Rick?
I think he's the kind of guy that he won't let that interfere with our racing team. I think the toughest thing about the deal is Rick's not going to be here at the races with us. That's the toughest part for us, and you know, so we'll have to talk to him by telephone and hopefully bring him some good news on Sunday afternoons.
What was his message? Did he sort of have a meeting or a message to his drivers before they came down here?
You know, he just you know, wanted to talk to us all before we came down here and kind of give us maybe a little bit of a pep talk and everything, and not really worry about him, and go on down here and do our job and do the best we can. And I think you're going to see a lot of people at Hendrick Motorsports work awful hard to try to bring Rick that third championship.
Define a teammate when it comes to racing, because it's sort of a catch-22 in a lot of ways, and especially last season when you and your teammate are racing for the championship.
You know, at times I thought it would have been easier to be racing somebody else for the championship, because I could have had him maybe help me a little bit, but we were competing against each other, and Rick was really more concerned with the guy that was going to finish second, and he had a meeting there before the last race in Atlanta and just wanted to tell everybody, whoever that might be, that, hey, they had a great season no matter what the outcome is going to be. And it just, you know, there again, it just kind of made our team close together.
Is there an advantage to having a guy who's so successful like Jeff as a teammate?
It kind of makes you feel younger having somebody that's young as your teammate. And I got to tell this story on him. It's been a few times that we've been talking to each other in practice, you know, and here he says, you know, we're at this one racetrack, and you can't go through the corner wide open, but he says, you know, I think I can go through there wide open. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't try this, because if you do it and if you make it, then that means I got to try it. I don't want to do that. So we kind of always compete against each other there as far as our team and their team, the 25 team, trying to be as good as the other one. So if we go to the racetrack, one of them's not running good, we can look over there and say, hey, those guys are running good. They got the same stuff we are, so we just need to go to work here.
And Terry Labonte's also made 537 consecutive starts, so consistency isn't a problem. Can he win out here?
He definitely can win this race. He had a great chance last year, a really good race car. A plastic bag went up into the air cleaner, one of those freak things that keeps you from getting into victory lane here. But he definitely is a man that you have to watch all day.
He obviously has experience. 18 times he's running the 500. Patience, something you talked about earlier in the show.
Yeah, patience is what's going to win this race, and I don't know if there's anybody out here that has more than Terry Labonte. That's why he's made all of these starts. That's why he finishes races. That's why he won the Winston Cup Championship last year, and that's why he has a really good chance here tomorrow.
He rarely wrecks, and that's, I assume, a guy you're always aware of. You look in your rear view, he's generally there, isn't he?
He's generally there. He's not one of the guys that has to lead all the time, but you know that he's going to be there at the end. He always is around. He wasn't in any accidents last year, and that's how you win championships in races, and especially races like the Daytona 500. A guy that you like to see in your mirror, because you know if something happens in front, you're not going to get run over from behind.
He won't cause an accident?
No.
All right, much more to come here in our Daytona 500 special. We'll talk to Dale Earnhardt about the wild ride he took at Talladega last year and the effect it has had on him. And next, Jeff Gordon, so young, so successful, so determined to win the Daytona 500.
This is my 5th year, and each year this race gets more and more important to me. And we've won some big races, but we haven't won this one, and this one's definitely the one on our list right now.
Welcome back to SportsCenter's coverage of the Daytona 500. Take a look at the last 3 seasons and the men who have earned the most money. All 3 Winston Cup champions. Jeff Gordon, over $9.5 million in his championship season of 1995. He won over $4.3 million. Obviously, among the most successful, certainly one of the most popular. But Jeff Gordon has had trouble here at the Daytona 500. His best finish, a 4th in 1994. And last year was a total disaster for Jeff and his crew chief, Ray Evernham. They left after the 13th lap and ended up finishing 42nd. Jeff and Ray both dream of the day they end up in victory lane after a Daytona 500.
It's really neat the way it all came together. Ray Evernham and I worked together a long time ago. We, you know, respect each other a lot. We share information back and forth. If he asked me to try something, I'd try it. You know, if I ask him to try something on the car, you know, he tries that. And if you don't have that line of communication and that type of respect, then it's not going to work.
Jeff Gordon wins the Masters Southern 500 for 1996.
Talk about last season. You have 10 wins, twice as many as anyone else, and yet you don't win the Winston Cup title.
The championship pays consistency, and you can still win races and be consistent, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You can win fewer races and just be there in the top 5 each and every weekend. That's something I've learned from Terry Labonte. I mean, he's a very, very consistent driver. He's always towards the front each and every weekend, stays out of trouble. And, you know, if that's what it takes to win the championship, that's the way I want to be able to do it.
Now, Terry comes back as the defending Winston Cup champion. You did that as well. Is there a little less pressure to come back to Daytona or even go through a season not holding that title?
Well, I think, you know, every year, whoever the champion is, a lot of focus is on that team and on that driver because the defending champion. People are focusing on Earnhardt because, you know, is he finally going to win the Daytona 500? Is this the year to win 8 championships? You know, I feel like, yeah, there is a little pressure off of us, and because of it, I feel like we're much more focused. I think that we're really concentrating hard, you know, on not only trying to win the Daytona 500, but trying to, you know, have good race cars and good finishes from here on out throughout the whole season. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit less pressure, and I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm a little bit healthier this week because of it.
Obviously, we hear about something special about Daytona. Why is it so difficult to win?
Well, you know, for some guys it hasn't been, but for other guys it's been very difficult. You look at the names of guys who haven't won this race, from Dale to Rusty to Mark Martin. I mean, you know, this is a big event, and you know, you just never know how many years you're going to keep coming back here and keep trying. But you know, this is my 5th year, and each year this race gets more and more important to me. And we've won some big races, but we haven't won this one, and this one's definitely the one on our list right now.
You have to be very confident in this business. How about feeling invincible?
You're never invincible. I mean, it's like people saying, you know, well, a race car driver doesn't have fear. A race car driver has fear. You know, if you didn't have fear, you wouldn't know where the edge is. You'd take it over the edge and find yourself in a lot more trouble.
Last year, you had a front row seat for Dale's terrible accident. You know, you see that in front of you. What do you think to yourself?
Well, I mean, at the time, you know, at first I was fortunate that I missed it, and then at the, you know, split second that I was thinking that, I'm thinking, man, this is, you know, a bad wreck, and I hope that nobody's hurt. And you know, it was good to know that you know, he walked away from that, because it could have been much more serious.
Do you say, oh my God, that's Dale, or are there people that you guys are closer with that you say, oh no?
Well, you know, I think we have that respect for every driver that's out there. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is, you know, and how close we are to them. We don't want to see anything bad happen to anybody. At Daytona, Talladega, the speeds are up there high enough that you know, the air takes control of the car sometimes, and they get airborne. But you know, really, when I'm out there, I'm not thinking of the danger of the speeds, and really doesn't come into play unless something like that happens.
93, your first Daytona 500. For a long time, Jeff Gordon was in your rearview mirror, wasn't he?
He was right there the whole race. His rookie season, that's probably the closest he's come, but he definitely can be a factor here tomorrow.
Type of racer he is, very aggressive. That bode well on a track like this?
Well, it can. Obviously, it's done well for a lot of people, but you have to have patience to go with that. And even at a young age, as Jeff Gordon is, all the talent, he still knows how to harness that aggressiveness when he has to.
People have, in some ways, compared him to what Tiger Woods has done on the PGA Tour. He garners all the attention. He's so young. Does that bother the 40-something set at all?
Not really. You know, it's good for our sport, and I think that we realize that. It's brought a new fan base. You know, kids have come in from 15 to 25, and that's great for our sport. A lot of talent there, and you can't begrudge someone that just has that much talent and being able to get in a good race car and show what he's got.
You expect him to someday win this race?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. Tomorrow's a good opportunity for him. He'll definitely have a Daytona 500 soon. And he and Terry Labonte work well as teammates, and I think that it's probably in Jeff's best interest to work with Terry because he can help him a lot.
And Ricky Craven now, a new teammate there. Jeff Gordon will start 6th. He'll be in row 3. Much more to come as we continue with our special from Daytona. And here's an image we've all seen before. Dale Earnhardt in the rearview mirror, a place he's constantly asked about at the 500. Speedweek's coverage continues on ESPN2 Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Dr. Jerry Punch will join Kenny Mayne for the latest details on the race. Then at 9 p.m., a review of the 39th Daytona 500. We'll hear from all the principals. Sunday night at 7 Eastern, right here on ESPN, a half-hour race recap, what the winner did right and where it went wrong for everyone else. And when we come back, the Intimidator, the discussion with Dale Earnhardt.
That's the question you always ask, and you get all the stuff about the 500 because I've came so close and haven't won it yet, and I've been a contender to win it so many times.
Welcome back to Daytona. You can't talk about this super speedway or the 500 without mentioning Dale Earnhardt. He has had more victories on this track than anyone else in history, 29. He has been consistent in the 500. Last 10 years, he's been in the top 10 every year. 4 times he's finished second. It's impossible to say that he's jinxed with the amount of success he's had. Yet as Jerry Punch found out, with the lack of success in the 500, it's difficult to say he's not.
Things were a little rocky, and then the crash happened, and it got tough from there on. And then we started second-guessing ourselves, and the team lost confidence in me and everything else around us, you know, and it just sort of started, you know, not really falling apart, but just really wasn't together.
In retrospect, did you do the right thing by trying to race hurt?
Probably not. You know, I think Watkins Glen set me back healing-wise further than I realized, even after I admitted it.
The last thing that was said by Childress and the crew was, Dale, it is your call. You make the call. And as you saw a moment ago, Dale indeed made the call and will stay out.
It even took, it took till late November, early December before I could even work out at any pace with my shoulder. And the fractures, the breaks healed up. The collarbone took longer. But the bruised shoulder and the muscle tendons and stuff that were really injured, and I kept them inflamed from driving, I didn't have time to heal up, and they didn't heal up till late November.
How's the shoulder and how's the chest?
I know it's there.
I just sort of do what comes natural when it comes to racing, and it's not second thought to get in a race car, and no matter how you feel, and to do your job. And Teresa and I really had a real heart-to-heart meeting about that and talked about that to a great measure. And she's wiser than probably I give her credit for at that time, for as knowing what's best for me to do when it comes to my driving. And she was smart in saying, you should, you know, no, let's don't do this. You need to just take more time and go ahead and put David in the car at Watkins Glen, and you know, you'll heal quicker. And instead, I punished myself that day, and probably punished myself to the point that it took a lot out of me for the races afterwards. And you know, but it's a tough decision, and we were hurt pretty bad.
If the gods of the garage area came to you, Dale, and said, okay, you could either win the Daytona 500 or an unprecedented 8th Winston Cup championship, you make the call, which would you choose?
I've had that question a bunch, and the answer is the same, the 8th championship. Nobody's ever done that.
Over the years, have you psyched yourself out here at Daytona for the 500?
It's tougher on myself, and it's tougher with the press and everybody saying, well, he's never won the 500. And that's the question you always ask, and you get all the stuff about the 500, because I've came so close and haven't won it yet, and I've been a contender to win it so many times. So
your off-track demeanor has mellowed in recent years. Has that caused your on-track demeanor to mellow as well?
You know, a guy go flipping down through the tri-oval like Rusty did in Talladega, and then here I am flipping down the straightaway in front of everybody because somebody made a mistake. And it's tough on you to go out and just blast through the cars and win and have no second thoughts about it. But as far as the aggressiveness of racing and getting in the corner with them and not backing off, it's still there.
Larry McReynolds coming on board. What does he bring to the team as a whole?
Well, I knew he was a good crew chief. I knew from watching him work, he was very focused, very organized, and very thorough when it comes to the cars. After working with him just a short time, boy, he is. He questions you. He pulls things out of you that maybe you're thinking about but really don't comment on. Oh, he's good. He gives me the confidence and the insurance that things are done, things are ready, prepared, everything's thought out. There's nothing left unturned.
Multi-car teams have been successful recently in Winston Cup racing. Hendrick and Yates are examples. What are your thoughts on having a teammate for 1997?
I'm sure when it gets down to racing, the 31 and the 3 comes down to the end of the race, and it's between those two cars. I'm not going to give to him any more than I'd give to anybody else. There again, in the same turn, when it comes down to the end of the Daytona 500 or a Talladega restrictor plate race, you get down there and you got to help him or he's got to help you. You got to make that decision to play as a team and say, okay, we got to get our team to the front. It may not be me or it may not be him, but we got to work together as a team to try to do that.
We've established you're 100%. or close to it. We established that you're enthusiastic, you're pumped, you're invigorated, you got Larry McReynolds on board. What message does that send to the competitors?
Trouble. Them guys are in trouble.
So in '93, you have Gordon in your rearview mirror for a long time. Last year, you have Earnhardt. Is there anybody that you would rather not have than Dale Earnhardt behind you?
I think that is probably the most intimidating sight at the Daytona 500 to have Dale Earnhardt, knowing he hasn't won it, how bad he wants to get there. Last year, it was 23 laps that I had to look at him in my rearview mirror, doing everything in my power to keep him back there because I knew if he got in front, there wasn't going to be any getting back by him.
So what are you doing? Are you blocking him? I mean, every time you see him dip down, do you dip down? Do you actually kind of have to race his race?
Yeah, I'm trying to drive his car, actually. I'm trying to put my car in front of his car. I'm trying to outthink him, get to the spot before he can get there, make sure that he's not dropping back too far to get a run on me. So that means sometimes I have to slow the pace down a little bit, and I have to be ready for any move he's going to make.
Now, you both Dales won the twin 125s. He's won 8 in a row. Is that mind-boggling?
Incredible. That just doesn't seem like it can happen because you're racing against so many different people, and he hasn't always had the fastest car in qualifying. He qualified 10th here last week, but he ends up winning the 125. That shows you that this guy is the master of the draft.
What makes him so successful? Why is he at a level that really no one else is?
He is the best talent that's ever been in this sport, and I don't mean to take away from others that have championships and have done things, but Dale Earnhardt can do things with a race car that others can't. He can feel the air out here. He can find air that nobody else seems to know is there, and that's what gets him to the front and makes him a factor each and every time here at the Daytona 500.
All right, and perhaps tomorrow he'll get his first win. Much more and some final thoughts when we continue with our special from Daytona International. So we have talked to and about 3 of the guys who are certainly among the favorites to win here when the green flag drops. You are as well. Less than 18 hours away. You got the jitters. I mean, what is the race car driver going through the night before the 500?
I think you're going back through everything in your mind that you've done all winter to prepare for this race. For the 2 weeks you've been down here, feel like you've got everything in place. But yeah, you have the butterflies. This is a big race. It's exciting. Not a lot of sleep. You kind of want to be left alone. The family knows that, and it's just time to think about what you need to do to make sure you're here in victory lane when it's over.
Getting focused.
Getting focused, definitely.
As far as what we can look for, those who are watching the race, those who are here, how do we know when, say, the 88 car is doing well? What can we look for in the race?
Well, certainly watching the guys up front. New tires, yeah, you can be up there. Let's watch 30 and 40 laps into a run and see if the guys start falling back. That means they have a handling problem. As the tires get hot, track gets a little slicker, they're not going to be around. Fuel mileage, very important. This race has been won a number of times on fuel mileage, and so you have to make sure that you're within that window of being able to make it when the last pit stop is made and you have to get back out there. The other thing is the guy that really can use the draft, who can pass. Watch the guys that not only can pass coming from the back, but when they get up to the front, if you can make a move on those front guys, they're going to be strong. You don't have to be at the very front of this race all day long. Being patient is going to be the key, getting yourself in position the last 50 miles.
Patience and passing it throughout the week. Passing outside the draft has been very difficult. Good luck to you here on Sunday at the 500.
Thanks.
For Dale Jarrett, I'm Carl Ravitch. Stay tuned to ESPN throughout the day, and on SportsCenter, full recap of what went on here at the 500. Thanks for watching, everybody. So long.